So sweet, my suspension came in. It's all back, all freshened up, ready to go. So my 2017, my A-bike's going to be put back together today. So we'll crack open this case, check the forks out, check the shock out. It's good to see it back, and looks like I'll have to make some room, push some stuff around, and we'll get putting the 2017 back together. All right, let's check out this suspension. All right. Alright, sweet. It's been a hot minute since I've seen it, so it's nice to see it again. So everything's already cleaned and ready to go. All the settings are done. Mr. Eric Block again, thank you very much. Nice job as always. Sweet. So let's get this place cleaned up, prepped, and ready to go for the install. Alright, now I made some room in here, moved some things around. Very limited on space, just a trailer, but I should be able to get the job done with what I have left. So this is what I did. I just moved some things around, like just slid those two bikes over. Cranked the handlebars so I could get them as far over as I could, and this should be enough room here to get the forks in, get the shock back on, and the quick shifter on the shift lever. And then my exhaust that came back from Yoshimura, obviously we put that back on. So everything's still loose from when I took the shock out, so that'll make it easier. All my hardware is still sitting here. Get that good to go. So I'll go through that, make sure I have everything. Got my axle all cleaned up. I'm going to just take some Scotch-Brite to the inside of the fork lugs where the axle slides through, just to make sure everything's clean. And then we'll start the assembly process.
Here, we're going to see a lot of action in this race because they'll all be fanning out at the end of the straightaway when they're in the drafts as well as turn 5. Turn 5 is a little bit slower, actually it's a lot slower than turn 1, but they come off big, long, fast straightaways. On these little bikes, though, even going down into turn 8, you're going to see these guys be able to utilize a little bit of drafting and fanning out again down there into turn 8. We've seen Dominic and Rocco race really close all the way through, but nowhere closer than here in the carousel. Yesterday, even they got so close to each other all the way through the right? And it's extremely downhill. You can't tell by just
Alright, so first I'm going to put the rear shock in. I got my bolt here. I think I grabbed the right one. Slide this in. There. Nice and clean.
So it's time to get the Liquid Molly Junior Tough bikes going. Grid is formed.
There, it looks like Lockoff's in the back. Yeah, well, it's Gus Rodeo and Lockoff. They're both. I saw them drafting there, and it's going to be Rongo Landers, Dominic Doyle, and Blondie leading the way through. And then we got the two race bikes of Gus Rodeo and Lockoff grabbing top five.
All right, now I'm going to check out and see what the torque spec is. So the top shock mount bolt calls for 32 foot-pounds of torque. And we got the bottom bolt. I won't say it, but we all know what we're doing here.
Leading the way from Ben Blondie, and then you have Gus Rodeo, number 96, all the way around the Landers, leading Dominic Doyle by a tenth of a second. See those two up the
Okay.
road.
Now check the torque spec on the bottom one. The torque spec on the bottom one is the same as the top, 32 foot-pounds. So now I'm going to put the hardware back in for the subframe and tighten up the top bolts that I loosened up so that I can swing this out of place. Checking my connection at the boot here. Make sure my airbox is all sealed up as well.
Those three guys have now pulled away from the rest of the field as well.
You can see the size difference too from Ben.
Yeah, it looks like Gus. I haven't got to meet Gus yet, but boy, he looks really small out of the three of these guys. Even when you're out there watching Lockoff in the draft, now he's going to go by on the left side of Rodeo, and he's going to be able to get in the draft of Rodeo now.
Frame bolts.
I think he's probably going to test that.
Just start them loose, keep them loose so you can get both sides in, and then you can go ahead and tighten them down.
Really showed to be on a fast lap right now. Rocco Landers would break the outright track record with this chasing down Dominic Doyle.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be in the third.
That's how you chase someone down, Jay.
So he didn't want to take the lead again, Brandon. He's gone. I mean, if you can win that last time on the road, it's not good. That's a great job. But, obviously, the heat flustered. He doesn't seem like.
All right, so the bottoms are 36 foot-pounds and the top's 24. 24.
Landers a lot because the proven track record from last year, he stunned the world. He stunned us for sure. And how dominant he was.
Those qualifiers for Red Bull Rookie Cup, and then unfortunately with the COVID stuff, we got back to third. And this is doing it now. Rodeo's up there now, and Blondie, and then some walk off there.
Just Rodeo with eyes on the front of his motorcycle to the side, turn his head. Take a look and see who's around him. He hasn't broken the will of anybody. I just have my eye.
All right, next I'm going to tackle the exhaust. so I got my components here. The silencers, the cans came back from Yoshimura with that service done to them. And then I'm going to take these pipes, and I'm going to take some Scotch-Brite and clean up around the edges of them. And we'll end up putting a little bit of anti-seize on there. It does stink like a mother when you start it up, but you'll thank yourself when you're not beating your pipes apart with a rubber mallet. It'll actually save that. So get these cleaned up and we'll start installing the exhaust. All right, perfect. All right, so it doesn't take much anti-seize, just a little thin skim coat of it. Just put it around the mating surfaces of the pipe and the silencer. You'll thank yourself later. So we get just a little bit here, dab, dab. Paper towel. Just a little coat of it. Okay, seat it in. Do the same thing for the inside. On the other side.
Dominic Doyle's racecraft right now is shining through. What a great job we're seeing from the 25. So Rocco's not close enough to do it. Landers 13. So here we go. It's going to be the typical Road America. What do you have underneath here? Draft and pass. Rocco gets a good drive. The number one.
Just like that.
He pulls out, grabs the ship. He's coming up to the top of the hill, and it looks like it's timed perfectly. And Rocco Landers will streak to the checkered flag and take his first Liquimolo Junior Cup race of 2020.
Oh, look at this. Now there's going to be a big draft. Rocco should have a little bit of an advantage here. He's got a double white draft in front of him. Is he going to get to the line first between the other two?
Here it goes. The timing is scoring says it's Sam Lock.
All right, there's one side. Let's get the other side done.
Over Ben Glady and Gus Rodeo.
Yeah.
57 of Sam Lockoff and more battles all the way to the strike.
All right, let's slide the pipe on.
All right, so there you go. I mean, with the pipe like this, you got double white draft in front of every single one. So Raceway, Rocco Landers will streak to the checkered flag and take his first Liquimolo Junior Cup race of 2020.
This is always the fun part. Getting these springs in where they gotta go. And I've done it where you put it on first, then slide the pipe in, but then half the time it falls out before you get the pipe where it's supposed to go. There we go. Alright, there's one side. This side's a little easier. Yep. Just a 10mm head bolt, so don't go crazy. Alright. Exhaust is on. Alright. So we're going to get the forks on now. We'll do the front end. So looks like I'm going to need a 10mm to tighten these pinch bolts down temporarily as I slide the forks in. And then I'll grab my axle and I'll show you how to make sure that your fork legs are in there evenly. Alright, so I'll slide my fork up in. Start with the brake side. Go. Alright, we'll hold that one there. Let me grab the other one. Alright, got my other fork, so we'll get this one slid up in the triples. And we'll get it as even as possible, then I'll show you a little trick with the axle you can do to make sure you're exact. Alright, then what you want to do is you want to take your axle, slide it through, and if you can take your axle and just spin it around, then your fork legs are, I don't want to say perfect, but they're pretty damn close. So I got them in there nice. That'll work for me. Everything slides nice. There's gonna be no binding. Perfect. Alright, the bottom pinch bolts on this bike are 15 foot-pounds and the top are 16 foot-pounds. So go ahead and torque these down. And then we'll run it up to 16, and we'll get the top. Alright, we'll get these fork guards on. This is the easiest to do with the wheel off. Little pro tip. There's one bolt that would be on the inside next to the wheel that's a pain in the butt if you have the wheel on. Do yourself a favor, put them in a few turns on the threads, then go to the next one. That way everything lines up nice and you're not wrestling with it. There's no specific torque on these, it's just tight. The German spec, good and tight. Alright, and then on this side, it's a little different. It has these metal tabs I put on here. These ones are from the Hilo Concepts, but I've also made my own. And all it does is it helps prevent the bolts from pulling through this thin plastic when utilizing a hole shot device. I do use a hole shot device. I love them. They work great. This was a new product that just went to market last year from Pro Taper. It's called the Sella, which is the self-engaging launch assist. What's nice about this is, unlike motocross, supercross, whatever, you have a mechanic go to the line with you. We don't have any mechanics to come to the line. If we're lucky, which I've been very lucky that Mr. Jimmy Rich has helped me out for years, he would help me set my hole shot device. Or you do a little monkey dance in front of your bike trying to get it to go down, which happens most of the time. It works good, but sometimes you end up out of breath trying to yank your suspension down and you look like a fool on the line. So I got this one. This one works really nice. All you do is on the approach to the line, turn this little knob in, and that puts the hooking mechanism out. And then when I get to my grid spot, I just stab the brake, the little endo action, and it locks it in. Good to go. No need for a second person. So we'll get this fork guard installed and move on.
This is the crazy stuff that happens in our series every year, right? We've seen Tony Elise with big points, but Cameron gets him turned with a big buck right about there. And it looks like he probably just touched it. It's right gravel track, and we have a new race leader. How about these two guys? These guys, this would be first super bike wins for either one of these two riders that you see here, Bobby Long and Jake Gagne. And like I said, you can see on the right of our screen, you can get a little come out of that bike. Cameron Hope is getting back on. Gagne right now is got to be really lucky with the first lap he had because it's drawing him back up onto the back of Bobby Long. We did the last laps through.
Now, I looked at my heat shrink. I don't have anything that's going to be big enough to go over this, so for now, we'll end up using the zip tie method, and there's nothing wrong with it. I was just trying to think outside the box. But if you tighten the bottom nut down that holds the tip onto the shaft here, yeah, giggity giggity, it makes it bind up, so you got to leave it somewhat loose. So I'm going to take a piece of safety wire and run it through just like you would do on a brake lever. So let's do that right now.
Unfortunately for the number one place, Cameron Moby, not able to continue.
Cam, we saw you go down out there. Obviously, this is not how you planned to end such a great weekend. Tell us how it happened.
Yeah, I'm pretty bummed. I felt like it was going to go like yesterday was. I got a good start, and my bike was feeling really good. Went with the red front tire, which is a little bit different than we've been on all weekend. We tried it this morning, felt pretty good. And yeah, I think the track conditions are a little greasy. You know, I just hit that bumped and tucked it. It was an honest mistake, and these guys will patch this thing up and get ready for Road Atlanta.
What did you open up to next Cam?
Disappointment on Cam's face. Know really well he can see it for it, but there. But the way that this race is shaping up, he'll still lead here with points lead. He has such a dominating first three races of the season. This battle is so intriguing. Kyle Lyman is very at the bottom of the hole, but things start to tighten up at the front again. It just seems like Bobby Long keeps trying to throw a shot and break the wheel.
No edges. See how I did that?
Bobby the Bulldog.
All right.
He held up to the Cameron Moby, and he kept
That's on there, nice. See if I can find some small zip ties. Alright, so I found some small zip ties. Let's go ahead and secure the wire to the shift lever.
You remember during the race yesterday, there's a little on-board between Gagne and Team Narrow today. There being an air bubble inside of the brake line. So it took him several laps just to get his confidence back on.
The greatest still was a bit pushy for him as the race won, and once for 2 laps where he was doing 70.
Flush cuts. No sharp edges. Right? Flush cuts. Alright, so I got the quick shifter lever on. I ended up going with the lever that was already on here. This is a Moose Racing one. It just the distance between here was greater on this lever, and it gave me a little bit more room to work with. So I just did the same thing I did to the other lever to this one, drilled it out. I had to cut this spring a little bit, but I made it all work. It's all safety wired on here now. I left enough room on the wire so if it does bend, you know, it'll not rip the wire out the back. Zip ties, and then I ran it forward of the case saver up behind here, and then behind the stock wiring harness. So the stock wiring harness is holding it out of the way. And then I ran it just with the regular harness and just zip tied it to itself all the way up and around, and then out the subframe, and it'll be zip tied to the power commander itself once I get everything done. But here's the auto tune plugged in, and then the quick shifter wires here on the back. Just remove, there's a plug that goes here. Move that plug, loosen up the screws. I took the wires and I used a little bit of solder, and I just put some solder on the tips of the wires to help keep them all together. Poke them through, tighten it down. There you go. And then I got my laptop plugged in and my DynoJet application open, and I'll show you where you go. So it's the same thing, the same place you would go for the auto tuner. Just go up here, Power Commander Tools, and then Configure. Features, Enables, and Inputs. We're going to go down here, Quick Shifter. So we'll select Quick Shifter. I have it in Input 1, so we'll change that to Input 1. And Configure. Single time, good to go. Normally open, 3000. Shifting, yep, everything's all set. So all we got to do now is click OK. And OK. Applying settings. And it just told my power commander that it now has a quick shifter. Alright, so now that the configuration is all done with the laptop, I can start buttoning everything else back up. So this is my external power source. I had to figure something out because this 2017 doesn't have a battery. So what I did was the auto tune comes with just two bare wires at the end. So I have a bunch of these connectors in stock. It's just a 2-wire connector. So I got one of those, and then I bought this battery. This was just an Amazon purchase. It's a bit much for this. It's a 6800 milliamp battery. It's a little overkill, but whatever. I'll never lose power. It's rechargeable, so you recharge it there, and then this end just plugs into that, and it's got a little on-off switch on the side, and I only need to run this when I'm running the auto tuner. So when I go out for an auto tune session, you know, it's a different temperature day or what have you, or different elevation, and I'm needing for whatever reason to run the auto tuner, I just plug this in, throw it on, and I could run it all day. I could run it all weekend without charging this. So this was a cool purchase. Works really well. So that's what this wire is for. I just wanted to explain that. So this is Velcroed right there. That goes like that. And then we'll get some zip ties. So now I'll put the plastics back on, we'll put the gas tank back on, and button this thing up and fire it up. Great. We'll get this fuel tank back on. Put that there. Okay. I like to start with the shortest piece. Here, click, there it goes. This piece goes on. Goes there. This goes check your cables, make sure nothing's binding up. Perfect. Tighten that down, and we'll get the rest of the plastics on, and yeah, keep it fired up. All right, so let's fire it up. I got the laptop hooked up to it so I can see what's going on, and we'll see if that quick shifter works.
Racing him last year. The Twins. Barney's been out there. He was racing.
All right, so the quick shifter works. I don't know if you could hear it there, but every time I hit the button, you could hear it, you know, cut out a little bit each time. So that works. I got a few other little odds and ends to finish up on this 2017, and then I can throw this out in the shed and cover it up, and it'll take a little bit of a winter nap before next season. That being said, that means I can start working on this 08 here pretty soon. I just put in another order through motorsport.com and got some other parts coming. You know, I got like I said, a new head coming, valves, valve springs, and some other stuff to finish off the engine build. And that's where I'll start. Is after I tear it down, we'll start with the engine build. So it's pretty smoky in here now. That anti-seize was burning off nice. I'm going to call it for tonight, and tomorrow come back down and keep plugging away. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching.